Everyone he ever loved rejected him until he decided he was going to marry a mannequin. Gabriel Thorne's hands freeze on his crystal tumbler when the doorbell chimes through his empty penthouse. The sound cuts through the classical music drifting from hidden speakers, jarring him from his evening ritual of whiskey and solitude. No one comes to the 42nd floor. No one has his private elevator code. No one even knows he lives here anymore. He sets the glass down on the marble bar top, his fingers trembling slightly, not from the alcohol, but from something else. Fear, maybe. Or hope. He's not sure which terrifies him more. Victoria, he whispers to the figure seated elegantly on his Italian leather sofa, her porcelain features perfect in the golden lamplight. Someone's here. The mannequin doesn't respond, of course. She never does. That's why he chose her. Victoria never lies, never leaves, never looks at him with a mixture of pity and disgust that clouded Isabel's eyes the day she walked out of his life forever. The doorbell chimes again, more insistent this time. Gabriel runs his hands through his dark hair, already knowing he won't answer it. He hasn't answered his door in 3 years. Not since the wedding that never happened. Not since he learned that love is just another currency for people to spend when they want something from you. But then a voice calls through the heavy oak door, soft, melodic, completely unfamiliar. Gabriel Thorne? I know you're in there. I can see the light under your door. His heart stops. No one calls him Gabriel anymore. It's been Mr. Thorne for so long he'd almost forgotten the sound of his first name spoken with such intimacy. I'm not here to hurt you, the voice continues, and there's something in it that makes his chest tight. I'm here about your advertisement. Advertisement? Gabriel frowns, moving closer to the door despite every instinct screaming at him to retreat to his study, to pour another drink, to pretend the outside world doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about, he calls back, his voice hoarse from disuse. He talks to Victoria, yes, but whispered conversations with a mannequin don't require the same vocal strength as speaking to actual humans. A soft laugh filters through the door, and the sound does something strange to his chest, loosens something that's been locked tight for years. The advertisement for a bride, Gabriel. The one your assistant posted on your behalf. The world tilts. Marcus. His assistant, the only person who still had access to his accounts, who still handled his business affairs from the outside. Gabriel had given him carte blanche to manage his public image, to keep the sharks at bay, but this. I never authorized any advertisement, Gabriel manages, but even as he says it, he remembers Marcus's concerned calls, his suggestions about getting back out there, his worry about Gabriel's hermit lifestyle. Well, someone did. And I'm here to respond to it. Gabriel presses his forehead against the cool door, closing his eyes. This is insane. He should call security, have whoever this is removed from his building. He should retreat to his bedroom and wait for them to go away. Instead, he finds himself asking, what did the advertisement say? It said you were looking for a wife. Someone genuine, someone who wouldn't be interested in your money. Someone who could love the man behind the fortune. There's a pause, and when she speaks again, her voice is softer, almost vulnerable. It said you were tired of being alone. The words hit him like physical blows. That's exactly what he would have written, if he'd been brave enough to write it. If he'd believed such a person could exist. Who are you, he whispers. My name is Raven Blackwell. I'm 28, I work as a trauma counselor, and I've been alone for a very long time too. Another pause. I read your advertisement 3 weeks ago, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. About you. Gabriel's breath catches. Through the peephole, he can see a figure in the hallway, small, feminine, with long dark hair that catches the light from the corridor's chandeliers. She's wearing a simple blue dress that looks like it came from a department store, not a designer boutique. No jewelry that he can see. No obvious signs of the gold-digging opportunists who used to circle him like vultures. This is crazy, he says, more to himself than to her. Yes, she agrees readily. Absolutely insane. I've never done anything like this before. I've been standing outside your building for 2 hours, trying to work up the courage to come up here. He can hear the smile in her voice. But sometimes crazy is exactly what we need. Gabriel looks back at Victoria, sitting perfectly still on his sofa, her glass eyes reflecting the light. Beautiful, safe, predictable Victoria. She'll never hurt him, never disappoint him, never demand more than he can give. She'll also never make his heart race the way it's racing right now. I don't. He starts, then stops. What is he even supposed to say? That he's broken? That he hasn't had a real conversation with another human being in months? That he married a mannequin because at least she can't leave him? Gabriel, Raven says, and the way she says his name makes something crack open in his chest. I'm not asking you to marry me tonight. I'm not asking for your money or your penthouse or anything except a chance. Just, let me in. Let's talk. If you hate me, if this is completely wrong, I'll leave and you'll never see me again. But if there's even a tiny part of you that wonders what if, don't you think you owe it to yourself to find out? His hand moves to the deadbolt before his mind can stop it. This is how it starts, he thinks. This is how people like Isabel get their hooks in you. They sound reasonable, they sound genuine, they make you believe. But what if she is genuine? What if Marcus, in his misguided concern, accidentally found the one person in the world who could understand what it means to be this lonely? What if Gabriel has been so busy protecting himself from being hurt again that he's forgotten how to live? The deadbolt slides open with a soft click. Raven Blackwell is even more beautiful than he glimpsed through the peephole, but it's not a polished magazine cover beauty. It's something warmer, more real. Her dark hair is slightly mussed from the wind, her cheeks are flushed from nerves or cold, and her green eyes are wide with a mixture of hope and terror that mirrors his own. "Hi," she says simply. "Hi," he manages back. They stand there for a moment, taking each other in. Gabriel is suddenly aware of how he must look, unshaven, his expensive shirt wrinkled, his hair disheveled. He looks like exactly what he is, a man who's given up on the world. But Raven doesn't look disgusted or disappointed. If anything, her expression softens. "You're not what I expected," she says. Disappointed. The word comes out more bitter than he intended. "No." She shakes her head, stepping slightly closer. "I expected someone harder. Someone who'd built walls so high that no one could see the person inside anymore." Her eyes search his face. "But you're still in there, aren't you? The real you." Gabriel's throat tightens. When was the last time someone looked at him and saw anything other than his bank account or his business empire? "Would you like to come in?" he hears himself ask. Raven smiles, and it transforms her entire face. "I'd like that very much." As she steps into his penthouse, Gabriel catches a whiff of her perfume, something light and floral, nothing like the heavy, expensive scents Isabel used to favor. Everything about this woman seems genuine, unadorned, real. Which is exactly why she terrifies him. "Your home is beautiful," Raven says, looking around the space with genuine appreciation rather than the calculating assessment he's used to seeing. Then her gaze lands on Victoria, still posed elegantly on the sofa, and her expression shifts to something unreadable. Gabriel's face burns with embarrassment. How does he explain this? How does he tell this seemingly normal, kind woman that he's been so damaged by betrayal that he turned to an inanimate object for companionship? "That's Victoria," he says quietly, waiting for the judgment, the mockery, the inevitable retreat. Instead, Raven nods slowly. "She's beautiful," she says simply. "But she looks lonely." The observation hits him like a physical blow. Lonely. Yes, that's exactly what Victoria looks like, sitting there in perfect, eternal solitude. Just like him. What do you think drew Raven to respond to Gabriel's advertisement? Have you ever taken a leap of faith that scared you but felt absolutely right? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Raven moves through Gabriel's penthouse like she belongs there, which should set off every alarm bell in his head. Instead, he finds himself watching the way she touches things, not possessively, not calculatingly, but with genuine curiosity. Her fingers trail along the spine of a leather-bound book on his coffee table, pause at a photograph of him with his parents before they died, linger on a small sculpture he'd forgotten he owned. "You collect beautiful things," she observes, settling into the armchair across from Victoria rather than the sofa beside her. The choice feels deliberate, respectful somehow. "I used to," Gabriel corrects, pouring himself another whiskey. His hands are steadier now, which surprises him. "Now I just exist among them." There's a difference. He considers this, studying her face in the warm light. She's genuinely interested in his answer, not just making conversation while she calculates the value of his art collection. When you collect something, you're building toward something. Creating a life, maybe, or at least the illusion of one. He takes a sip of his drink, feeling the familiar burn. When you just exist among beautiful things, they become a very expensive prison. Raven nods slowly, and he can see her processing this, filing it away. It occurs to him that as a trauma counselor, she's probably trained to read between the lines, to see the wounds people try to hide. The thought should make him retreat, but instead it makes him curious. "What about you?" he asks, settling into his usual chair, the one that gives him the best view of both the city lights and Victoria. "Do you collect anything?" "Stories," she says without hesitation. "Not the kind you put on shelves, obviously. The kind people carry around inside them, usually alone." She glances at Victoria, then back at him. "The kind that shape us, for better or worse." "And what's my story?" The question slips out before he can stop it, more vulnerable than he intended. Raven studies him for a long moment, her green eyes serious. "I think you're someone who loved too deeply and trusted too completely, and when that was used against you, you decided it was safer to stop trying." She pauses. "But the part of you that loves deeply? That's still there. It's just protected now." Gabriel's chest tightens. She's not wrong, but hearing it said so plainly, so gently, makes him feel exposed in a way he hasn't experienced in years. "You don't know anything about me," he says, "but there's no heat in it. I know you've been talking to Victoria for company, but you positioned her so she's looking toward the door, not at you. Like you're hoping someone real might walk through it someday." Raven's voice is soft, understanding. "I know you still keep that picture of your parents where you can see it, which means you haven't given up on the idea of family entirely. And I know you let me in tonight, even though every instinct probably told you not to." Gabriel stares at her, stunned. In less than an hour, this woman has seen more of him than Isabel did in 2 years of dating. "That's terrifying," he admits. "Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I'm not sure there's a difference anymore." Raven laughs, a warm sound that fills the empty spaces in his penthouse in a way that classical music never could. "There's definitely a difference. Bad terrifying makes you want to run and hide. Good terrifying makes you want to run towards something, even when you don't know what it is." "And which kind am I?" She meets his eyes, and the intensity in her gaze makes his breath catch. "You tell me, Gabriel. Are you thinking about asking me to leave, or are you thinking about asking me to stay?" The question hangs between them, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. Gabriel sets down his whiskey, his hands no longer steady. "I'm thinking about how long it's been since someone looked at me and saw me. Not my bank account, not my penthouse, not what I could do for them. Just me." "How long?" she asks quietly. 3 years, 4 months, 16 days. The precision of his answer surprises them both. That's how long it's been since Isabel left. Raven's expression shifts, becoming softer somehow. "She's the one who hurt you." It's not a question, and Gabriel doesn't treat it like one. "She's the one who taught me that love is just another transaction. That there's always a price, and eventually, everyone collects." What was her price? Gabriel stands abruptly, moving to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook the city. The lights below blur together, thousands of lives he's disconnected himself from. "Everything," he says simply. "She wanted everything. My business, my family's legacy, my trust, my heart. And I gave it to her, all of it, because I thought that's what love meant." He presses his palm against the cool glass. "The day before our wedding, I found out she'd been working with my business partner to orchestrate a hostile takeover. The marriage was just the final step in acquiring Thorne Industries." He hears Raven's sharp intake of breath behind him, but he doesn't turn around. He can't bear to see pity in her eyes. 2 years, he continues. 2 years of planning, of lies, of manipulation. And I was so stupidly in love that I never saw it coming. He laughs bitterly. The prenup she insisted we didn't need? She'd already had her lawyers draft one that would have given her everything if I died or if we divorced. All she had to do was marry me and wait. Gabriel. Raven's voice is closer now, but he still doesn't turn. That wasn't love. What she did to you, that wasn't love at all. No, he agrees. But it felt like love right up until the moment it destroyed me. He feels her presence behind him before he hears her footsteps. She's close enough that he can feel the warmth radiating from her body, close enough that her perfume mingles with the scent of his cologne. "Can I tell you something?" she asks. He nods, not trusting his voice. 3 years ago, I was engaged to a man named David. He was a surgeon, brilliant, successful, everything I thought I wanted. Her voice is steady, but he can hear the pain underneath. 2 weeks before our wedding, I came home early from work and found him in our bed with my best friend, my maid of honor. Gabriel finally turns, studying her face. There's hurt there, old and deep, but there's something else too. Strength. Resilience. The kind that comes from surviving betrayal and choosing to keep believing in something better. "I'm sorry," he says, and means it. "The worst part wasn't even the cheating," Raven continues. "It was realizing that I'd been so desperate to be loved that I'd ignored all the signs that David was incapable of loving anyone but himself. I'd built my entire future around someone who saw me as convenient." "Is that why you're here?" Gabriel asks. "Because you understand what it's like to be betrayed?" Raven shakes her head. "I'm here because I understand what it's like to let betrayal turn you into someone you don't recognize. After David, I threw myself into work, told myself I was helping other people heal while refusing to heal myself. I haven't been on a single date in 3 years. Haven't let anyone close enough to hurt me again." "Then why?" Gabriel gestures between them, confused. "Because your advertisement didn't sound like it was written by someone looking for convenience or transaction," she says simply. "It sounded like it was written by someone who still believes in love, even if he's too scared to admit it." Gabriel stares at her, this woman who showed up at his door like an answer to a prayer he'd been too afraid to make. She's close enough to touch now, close enough that he can see the gold flecks in her green eyes, the slight tremor in her hands that tells him she's just as nervous as he is. "I don't know how to do this anymore," he admits. "I don't know how to trust someone, how to believe that they won't just leave when they get what they want." "What if I don't want anything?" Raven asks. "What if I'm just as terrified as you are, and just as tired of being alone?" "Everyone wants something." "You're right," she agrees, stepping closer. "I want to remember what it feels like to connect with someone. I want to stop being afraid of my own heart. I want to believe that two broken people might be able to help each other heal." Gabriel's breath catches. She's so close now that he could reach out and touch her face, could pull her against him and pretend, for just a moment, that intimacy doesn't have to end in devastation. Instead, he steps back. "You should go," he says, but the words lack conviction. "Should I?" Raven doesn't move away. "Or are you just scared that I might stay?" The question hits too close to home, and Gabriel feels his carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. This woman sees too much, understands too much, makes him want things he spent 3 years convincing himself he doesn't need. "I can't," he whispers. "I can't go through that again. The hoping, the believing, the inevitable moment when it all falls apart." "What if it doesn't fall apart?" Raven asks. "What if, for once, it actually works?" Gabriel looks at her, this brave, beautiful woman who responded to an advertisement he never wrote, who saw through his defenses in a matter of hours, who makes him feel more alive than he has in years. "That's even more terrifying," he admits. Raven smiles, reaching out to touch his arm gently. The contact sends electricity through his entire body, a reminder of what it feels like to be touched with tenderness rather than calculation. "Good terrifying or bad terrifying?" she asks, echoing their earlier conversation. Gabriel looks into her eyes, sees his own fear and hope reflected there, and makes a choice that scares him more than anything he's done in years. "Good terrifying," he whispers. "Definitely good terrifying." Have you ever been so hurt that you built walls to protect yourself, only to realize those same walls were keeping out the very thing you needed most? What would it take for you to let someone in again? Let us know your thoughts below. The admission hangs between them like a bridge neither is quite ready to cross. But for the first time in 3 years, Gabriel can see the other side, can imagine what it might feel like to take that first terrifying step towards something real. Something that might actually heal the parts of him he thought were broken forever. 3 weeks later, Gabriel wakes up to the sound of laughter drifting from his kitchen. For a moment, he lies still in his bed, savoring the unfamiliar but wonderful sound. Real laughter, bright and genuine, filling the spaces in his penthouse that have been silent for so long. Raven. The thought of her name makes his chest warm in a way he'd forgotten was possible. She's been staying with him for the past week. Not officially moved in, she's careful to maintain that distinction, but her presence has transformed his sterile, perfect home into something that actually feels lived in. Gabriel pulls on a robe and pads barefoot toward the kitchen, following the scent of coffee and something sweet baking in his oven. He finds Raven standing at the stove, wearing one of his shirts over her pajama shorts, her dark hair pulled up in a messy bun. She's talking animatedly to someone on her phone while flipping what appears to be pancakes. "No, Jenny, you don't understand," she's saying, grinning as she speaks. "He actually growled at the delivery guy yesterday when he looked at me too long." Growled. Like a protective caveman. She catches sight of Gabriel in the doorway and her entire face lights up. "I have to go." "Yes, I'll call you later." "Yes, I'm happy." Disgustingly, ridiculously happy. She hangs up and turns to face him fully, and Gabriel's breath catches the way it does every morning when he sees her. She's beautiful, yes, but more than that, she's alive in a way that makes everything around her more vibrant, more real. "Good morning, Grumpy," she says, moving to kiss him softly. The casual intimacy of it still amazes him, the way she touches him like she has every right to, like he belongs to her as much as she belongs to him. "Good morning," he murmurs against her lips. "What's all this?" "Pancakes," she announces proudly, gesturing to the stack on the counter. "And I may have used your obscenely expensive vanilla extract, but they're going to be the best pancakes you've ever had, so don't complain." Gabriel looks around his kitchen, flour dusted across the marble countertops, mixing bowls in the sink, Raven's coffee mug beside his on the island. It should annoy him, this disruption of his perfectly ordered space. Instead, it makes him feel more at home than he has in years. "You don't have to cook for me," he says, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "I know I don't have to," Raven leans back against his chest. "I want to. Besides, when was the last time you had a home-cooked meal that didn't come from a 5-star restaurant?" Gabriel thinks about it and realizes he can't remember. Even with Isabel, they'd always eaten out or had food catered. The idea of someone actually cooking for him, taking care of him in such a simple domestic way, is foreign and wonderful. "Never," he admits. Raven turns in his arms, studying his face with that careful attention she gives to everything about him. "Never. My parents died when I was 22. Before that, we had staff. After that, I was too busy building the company to learn how to take care of myself properly." Gabriel shrugs, suddenly self-conscious. Pathetic, right? A grown man who doesn't know how to make pancakes. "Not pathetic," Raven says firmly, reaching up to cup his face. "Lonely. There's a difference." She kisses him again, soft and sweet, and Gabriel marvels at how she can make even his most embarrassing admissions feel like opportunities for connection rather than judgment. "Besides," she adds with a grin, "now you have me to teach you. If you want to learn, that is." "I want to learn everything," Gabriel says, and means it. "Everything you're willing to teach me." Over breakfast, Raven tells him about her conversation with Jenny, her closest friend and the only person she's trusted with the details of their relationship. "She wants to meet you," Raven says, watching Gabriel's reaction carefully. Gabriel's fork pauses halfway to his mouth. Meeting her friends, that's a step towards something real, something permanent. The old Gabriel would have panicked, would have found reasons to delay, to keep their relationship contained and controllable. "Okay," he says instead, surprising them both. "Okay." Raven's eyebrows rise. "Just like that. Just like that." Gabriel reaches across the table to take her hand. "If she's important to you, then she's important to me." The smile Raven gives him could power the entire city. "I love you," she says, the words spilling out like she can't contain them anymore. Gabriel's heart stops, then starts again at double speed. They haven't said those words yet, though they've been hovering between them for days now, growing stronger with every shared glance, every casual touch, every moment of perfect understanding. "I love you too," he says, and feels something fundamental shift in his chest as he says it. "So much it scares me." "Good scary or bad scary?" Raven asks, echoing their first night together. "The best kind of scary," Gabriel assures her. "The kind that makes me want to be better than I've ever been." They spend the morning in bed, not making love but simply being together, talking, laughing, sharing stories from their childhoods. Gabriel learns that Raven was raised by her grandmother after her parents died in a car accident when she was 12. Raven learns that Gabriel used to write poetry in college, before the weight of inheriting his father's business made him put away such frivolous pursuits. "Do you still have any of it?" Raven asks, tracing patterns on his bare chest. "Somewhere," Gabriel admits. "Probably in a box in my study." "Will you show me sometime?" Gabriel considers this. His poetry is deeply personal, written by a younger, more hopeful version of himself. Sharing it feels almost more intimate than anything they've done physically. "Maybe," he says, then corrects himself. "Yes. If you really want to see it." "I want to see all of you," Raven says simply. "The parts you're proud of and the parts you think are embarrassing. The man you were before you learned to protect yourself, and the man you're becoming now." That afternoon, Gabriel does something he hasn't done in 3 years. He leaves the penthouse for reasons that have nothing to do with business. Raven wants to show him her favorite bookstore, a small, cluttered place in Brooklyn that she describes as magical. Walking through the city with her, Gabriel realizes how much he's missed simply being in the world. The sounds, the smells, the energy of people living their lives around him. It's overwhelming at first, but with Raven's hand in his, it becomes manageable, even enjoyable. The bookstore is exactly as she described, cramped and chaotic, with books stacked floor to ceiling and a fat orange cat sleeping on the counter. The elderly owner, Mrs. Chun, greets Raven like a beloved daughter and eyes Gabriel with protective curiosity. "So this is the mysterious boyfriend," Mrs. Chun says, looking Gabriel up and down. "He's very tall. And very rich apparently," Raven adds with a grin. "But I'm trying not to hold that against him." Gabriel finds himself laughing, actually laughing, as Mrs. Chun proceeds to grill him about his intentions while Raven browses the poetry section. When was the last time someone cared enough about Raven to interrogate the man she was dating? When was the last time he'd been in a place where people knew each other's stories, cared about each other's lives? "She's special, that one," Mrs. Chun says quietly, watching Raven run her fingers along book spines. "Been coming here since she was in college, always helping other people find exactly what they need. Never asks for anything for herself." "I know," Gabriel says. "I'm very lucky." "Luck has nothing to do with it," Mrs. Chun replies shrewdly. "Luck is winning the lottery. Love is a choice you make every day." Gabriel nods, understanding more than he can express. He's been choosing Raven every day for 3 weeks now, and she's been choosing him back. It should feel fragile, this new thing between them, but instead it feels like the strongest foundation he's ever built his life on. They leave the bookstore with a bag full of poetry collections and promises to return soon. As they walk back toward his car, Raven slips her arm through his. "Mrs. Chun likes you," she says. "She's usually much more suspicious of men I bring around." "You bring men around often?" Gabriel asks, then immediately regrets the question. He doesn't want to know about her past relationships, doesn't want to picture her with other people. "No," Raven says softly. "Actually, you're the first person I've introduced her to since David. The first person I've wanted her to meet." The admission makes Gabriel's chest tight with emotion. He stops walking, turning to face her on the busy sidewalk. "Raven." "I know we haven't talked about the future," she says quickly, as if she's afraid he'll stop her if she doesn't get the words out fast enough. "I know we're both still figuring this out. But I need you to know that this, us, it's not casual for me. It's not something I'm doing until something better comes along." Gabriel cups her face in his hands, oblivious to the people walking around them on the sidewalk. "It's not casual for me either. I've never felt anything like this before. Not even with Isabel." "What did you feel with her?" Gabriel considers the question seriously. "Gratitude, I think. That someone beautiful and successful wanted to be with me. But it was always work, trying to be worthy of her attention. With you." He trails off, searching for the right words. "With me." Raven prompts. "With you, I feel like I can just be myself. Like you see all my broken pieces and love me not despite them, but because of them. Because they're part of who I am." Raven's eyes fill with tears. "That's exactly how you make me feel," she whispers. They kiss right there on the sidewalk, surrounded by strangers and city noise, and Gabriel thinks this might be the happiest moment of his life. That evening, they cook dinner together in Gabriel's kitchen. Or rather, Raven cooks while Gabriel watches and tries to help without getting in the way. She's making something she calls comfort food, a simple pasta dish that fills the penthouse with the smell of garlic and herbs. "This is what my grandmother used to make when I was sad," Raven explains, stirring the sauce. "She said food made with love could heal anything." Gabriel watches her move around his kitchen like she belongs there, humming softly to herself, and feels something settle deep in his chest. Peace, maybe. Or just the absence of the constant vigilance he's carried for so long. "Raven," he says, not sure what he wants to say but needing to say something. "MMM." She doesn't look up from the stove. "Move in with me." The spoon stills in her hand. Slowly, she turns to face him, her expression unreadable. "Gabriel." "I know it's fast," he says quickly. "I know we've only known each other for 3 weeks. But I can't imagine going back to the way things were before. I can't imagine this place without you in it." Raven sets down the spoon and turns to face him fully. "Are you sure? Really sure? Because once I move in, once we take that step, there's no pretending this is just a casual thing anymore." "I don't want casual," Gabriel says firmly. "I want real. I want you here, every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to sleep. I want to learn how to cook your grandmother's recipes and introduce you to my business partners and fight about whose turn it is to do the dishes." Raven laughs, but there are tears in her eyes. "Gabriel Thorne, are you asking me to play house with you?" "I'm asking you to build a life with me," Gabriel corrects. "A real one. The kind neither of us thought we'd ever have again." Raven is quiet for a long moment, studying his face. Gabriel holds his breath, suddenly terrified that he's pushed too hard, moved too fast, scared her away. "Yes," she says finally. "Yes. Yes, I'll move in with you. Yes, I'll build a life with you. Yes to all of it." She steps into his arms, and Gabriel lifts her off her feet, spinning her around his kitchen while she laughs. "I love you," he says against her hair. "I love you so much." "I love you too," she replies, holding him tight. "More than I ever thought possible." They eat dinner by candlelight, talking about practical things, her lease, his spare closet space, which of her furniture they'll keep and which they'll donate. It should feel overwhelming, this rapid progression from strangers to lovers to partners, but instead it feels inevitable, like they're simply catching up to where they were always meant to be. After dinner, Gabriel surprises himself by suggesting they watch a movie. Not in his home theater, but curled up together on his sofa like a normal couple. They choose something light and romantic, but Gabriel finds himself watching Raven more than the screen, memorizing the way she laughs at the funny parts, the way she curls against his side like she belongs there. "What are you thinking about?" Raven asks during a quiet moment, tilting her head up to look at him. "How different everything is," Gabriel says honestly. 3 weeks ago, I was talking to Victoria about my day. Now I'm planning a future with you." Raven follows his gaze to where Victoria sits in her chair across the room, beautiful and silent and somehow less important than she used to be. "What are you going to do with her?" Raven asks gently. Gabriel considers this. Victoria has been his companion through the darkest period of his life, his safe harbor when human connection felt too dangerous. But now, "I think it's time to let her go," he says. "Maybe donate her to a boutique or a design school. Somewhere she can be appreciated for what she is instead of being a substitute for what I was too afraid to have." Raven kisses his jaw softly. "That's beautiful," she murmurs. As the movie ends and they prepare for bed, their bed, Gabriel thinks with wonder. His phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Gabriel almost ignores it, but something about the timing makes him check. Need to discuss the Henderson merger first thing Monday. Some complications have arisen. Also, there's something about the background check on Raven that requires your immediate attention. "Call me." Gabriel's blood runs cold. Background check? He never authorized a background check on Raven. Why would Marcus run one without his permission? "Everything okay?" Raven asks, noticing his expression as she emerges from the bathroom in her pajamas. Gabriel looks at her, this woman he's just asked to move in with him, to build a life with him, and feels the first crack appear in the perfect happiness they've built over the past 3 weeks. "Just work stuff," he lies, forcing a smile. "Nothing that can't wait until Monday." But as they lie in bed together, Raven curled trustingly against his side, Gabriel stares at the ceiling and wonders what Marcus has discovered. What complications could there be? What about Raven's background requires his immediate attention? For 3 weeks, he's felt completely safe with her, completely sure that she's exactly who she appears to be. Now, with one text message, all his old paranoia comes rushing back. What if he's been wrong about her? What if he's been played again, fooled by another beautiful woman with hidden motives? What if the happiness they've built together is just another elaborate lie? Have you ever felt like you found the perfect person, only to have doubt creep in just when things seem too good to be true? How do you balance trust with self-protection when you've been badly hurt before? Share your thoughts about navigating love after betrayal. Gabriel holds Raven closer, trying to memorize the feeling of her in his arms, the sound of her breathing as she falls asleep. Because if Marcus's call brings bad news, if everything he's believed about Raven is wrong, this might be the last night he gets to hold her like this. The last night before his world falls apart all over again. Gabriel slips out of bed at dawn, careful not to wake Raven. She looks peaceful in sleep, her dark hair spread across his pillow, one hand curled against her cheek like a child's. The sight of her there, in his bed, in his life, makes his chest tight with a mixture of love and growing dread. He can't stop thinking about Marcus's text. Background check. Immediate attention. The words have been circling in his mind all night, gaining weight and menace with each repetition. In his study, Gabriel closes the door quietly and calls Marcus. It's barely 6 a.m., but his assistant answers on the first ring. Gabriel, thank God. I've been up all night. What did you find? Gabriel cuts him off, not wanting to prolong the agony. There's a pause, and Gabriel can hear Marcus's reluctance to continue. Marcus. Tell me. Her name isn't Raven Blackwell, Marcus says quietly. It's Rachel Blackwood. And Gabriel. She's connected to Isabel. The words hit Gabriel like physical blows. He sinks into his desk chair, the phone suddenly heavy in his hand. What do you mean, connected? Rachel Blackwood was Isabel's roommate in college. They stayed close friends afterward, until... Marcus pauses. Until Isabel started planning her scheme against you. According to the private investigator, they had a falling out about 2 years before Isabel approached you. But Gabriel, the timing of Rachel's appearance in your life, her knowledge of your vulnerabilities, the way she knew exactly what to say to get past your defenses. Gabriel's vision blurs. The study spins around him as his mind races, connecting dots he doesn't want to connect. There's more, Marcus continues reluctantly. The advertisement I supposedly posted? I never posted any advertisement, Gabriel. Someone else did, using my credentials. Someone who had access to your personal information, who knew about your isolation, who could craft something that would appeal to exactly the kind of woman who might interest you. Rachel, Gabriel whispers. It gets worse. The private investigator found evidence of communication between Rachel and someone using an encrypted email account in the weeks leading up to her visit. The timing, the content, the way she appeared at your door with exactly the right story. Marcus's voice breaks slightly. Gabriel, I think this whole thing has been orchestrated. I think she's been playing you from the beginning. Gabriel drops the phone, his hand shaking so violently he can't hold it steady. The study, his sanctuary, his safe space, suddenly feels like a cage. The walls seem to be closing in, the air too thin to breathe. I want to remember what it feels like to connect with someone. I've been standing outside your building for 2 hours, trying to work up the courage. I was going to kill myself, but then I saw your advertisement. Every word she'd spoken, every tear she'd shed, every moment of vulnerability she'd shared, all of it choreographed. All of it designed to make him fall in love with her. Gabriel stumbles to his feet, his legs unsteady. He needs to confront her, needs to hear her deny it, needs her to tell him Marcus is wrong, that there's some mistake, some explanation that doesn't destroy everything they've built together. But even as he moves toward the door, his mind is cataloging all the signs he should have seen. How perfectly she'd understood his pain. How quickly she'd broken through defenses that had taken him years to build. How she'd known exactly what to say to make him trust her. 2 broken people can help each other heal. God, he'd been so desperate to believe it. So hungry for connection that he'd ignored every warning sign, every voice in his head that said it was too good to be true. Gabriel reaches for the door handle just as it turns from the other side. Raven, Rachel, stands there in his shirt and pajama shorts, her hair mussed from sleep, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Good morning," she says with that radiant smile that has become the center of his world. "I thought you might want," she stops, seeing his expression. "Gabriel? What's wrong?" For a moment, looking at her concerned face, her obvious affection, Gabriel almost believes it's all a mistake. This woman who shared his bed for weeks, who's cooked for him and laughed with him and promised to build a life with him, surely she can't be part of another elaborate deception. Then he sees it, the slightest flicker in her eyes, a brief moment where her perfect mask slips and something else shows through. Calculation. Fear. Guilt. "Your name is Rachel," Gabriel says quietly. The coffee cups slip from her hands, crashing to the floor and splattering dark liquid across the white marble. The sound seems to echo in the sudden silence between them. Gabriel. Rachel Blackwood. Isabel's college roommate. All the color drains from her face. For a heartbeat, she looks like she might faint. Then, as Gabriel watches in horrified fascination, her entire demeanor changes. The soft vulnerability disappears, replaced by something harder, more calculating. "How did you find out?" she asks, her voice different now, cooler, more controlled. The casual way she says it, the complete absence of denial, hits Gabriel like a sledgehammer to the chest. Some part of him had still been hoping, still believing that there was an explanation that would make this all make sense. So it's true. He can barely get the words out. All of it. Everything between us has been a lie. Rachel, he can't think of her as Raven anymore, looks at him for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is gentle again, but now Gabriel can hear the artifice in it, the careful modulation designed to manipulate his emotions. "Not everything," she says. "Gabriel, please let me explain." "Explain what?" The words explode out of him with 3 years of suppressed rage and pain. "Explain how you and Isabel planned this? How you waited until I was at my most vulnerable and then swooped in to finish what she started." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" Gabriel advances on her, and she takes a step back, genuine fear flickering in her eyes for the first time. "Tell me, Rachel. Tell me how you just happened to respond to an advertisement you posted yourself. Tell me how you just happened to know exactly what to say to get me to trust you. Tell me how you've been reporting back to Isabel about every moment of weakness, every vulnerability you've managed to extract from me." "Gabriel, stop. How much?" The question rips out of his throat like broken glass. "How much is she paying you? What's the end game this time? Marriage? Inheritance? Or are you just here to destroy what's left of me for sport?" Rachel's composure finally cracks completely. Tears stream down her face, but Gabriel no longer knows if they're real or just another manipulation. "You want to know the truth?" she says, her voice breaking. "Fine. Yes, Isabel contacted me. Yes, she asked me to get close to you. But Gabriel, I never." "Get out." The words are barely a whisper, but they carry the weight of absolute finality. "Gabriel, please. Get out." The roar echoes through the penthouse, raw and primal and filled with 3 years of accumulated agony. "Get out of my home, get out of my life, get away from me before I do something we'll both regret." Rachel stares at him, tears streaming down her face, and for a moment Gabriel almost believes the pain in her eyes is real. "The things I told you about David, about wanting to kill myself, those were real," she says desperately. "My feelings for you are real. Gabriel, I love you. Don't." Gabriel's voice breaks completely. "Don't you dare say that to me. Don't you dare use those words after what you've done." He turns away from her, unable to look at her face anymore, unable to reconcile the woman he thought he knew with a calculating stranger standing in his study. "I never meant for it to go this far," Rachel says to his back. "I was supposed to get close to you, gain your trust, get information about your business vulnerabilities. But Gabriel, the moment I met you, the moment I saw how much pain you were in, I couldn't." "Couldn't what?" Gabriel spins around, his face twisted with anguish. "Couldn't go through with destroying me? Couldn't take everything I had left to give and grind it under your heel? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you did exactly that." Gabriel strides to his safe, hands shaking as he enters the combination. He pulls out a stack of cash, more money than most people see in a year, and throws it at Rachel's feet. "There," he says, his voice hollow. "Take it. Take whatever Isabel promised you and get out. Consider it payment for services rendered." Rachel stares at the money scattered around her feet like it's poison. "Gabriel, I don't want your money. I never wanted your money." "Then what did you want?" Gabriel asks, and his voice is so broken, so raw with betrayal, that Rachel flinches as if he'd struck her. "I wanted to save you," she whispers. The words hang in the air between them, and Gabriel feels something die inside his chest. The cruelest part isn't that she lied to him. It's that even now, even knowing what she is, part of him still wants to believe her. "You didn't save me," Gabriel says quietly. "You destroyed me. Completely this time. Congratulations. You and Isabel finally won." Gabriel walks to his phone, dials building security with mechanical precision. "This is Gabriel Thorne. I need someone removed from my penthouse immediately. She's not to be allowed back in the building under any circumstances." Rachel's face crumples, but she doesn't try to argue anymore. She knows it's over, knows that whatever she came here to accomplish has gone too far to ever be undone. "Gabriel," she says one last time, her voice barely audible. "I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm so sorry." Gabriel doesn't respond. He can't. If he opens his mouth, if he acknowledges the pain in her voice, he might break down completely, and he won't give her the satisfaction of seeing him cry. The security guards arrive within minutes. Rachel has changed into her own clothes, her few belongings packed into the small bag she brought the night she first appeared at his door. She looks smaller somehow, diminished, nothing like the confident woman who'd swept into his life and made him believe in love again. As the elevator doors close behind her, Gabriel catches one last glimpse of her face. She's looking directly at him, tears streaming down her cheeks, her mouth moving in what might be "I love you" or "I'm sorry" or "goodbye." Then she's gone, and Gabriel is alone. He stands in his empty penthouse, surrounded by the debris of their shattered life together, coffee stains on his marble floor, her pillow still dented from where her head had rested, the lingering scent of her perfume in the air. Slowly, mechanically, Gabriel walks to Victoria's chair and looks at his mannequin bride. She sits exactly as he'd positioned her weeks ago, beautiful and serene and completely, utterly empty. "Hello, Victoria," he whispers, his voice hoarse from shouting. "I'm back." But even Victoria can't comfort him now. She's just a reminder of how pathetic he was before Rachel, before he let himself believe that someone could actually love him. Gabriel sinks onto his sofa, the same sofa where he and Rachel had watched movies and planned their future, and finally allows himself to break down completely. The sobs tear through him like physical violence, 3 years of carefully controlled emotion exploding all at once. He's not just crying for Rachel, for the loss of what he thought they had together. He's crying for his parents, dead so young they never got to see him become the man he might have been. He's crying for Isabel, for the naive trust she'd exploited and destroyed. He's crying for himself, for the boy who'd believed in love, who'd thought he could build something real and lasting with another person. Most of all, he's crying because he knows now, with absolute certainty, that he'll never be brave enough to try again. Lightning has struck twice in the same place, and he doesn't have the strength to rebuild from the ashes one more time. The phone rings, Marcus probably, wanting to check on him, to offer comfort Gabriel doesn't deserve. He doesn't answer. The building concierge calls. Packages arrived. Do they need to be brought up? Gabriel doesn't answer that either. The world continues to spin outside his windows, people living their lives, finding love, building futures. But Gabriel sits frozen in his penthouse prison, staring at Victoria and wondering how he could have been so stupid, so desperate, so willing to believe that someone like Rachel could actually want someone like him. Hours pass. The sun moves across the sky, casting different shadows through his floor-to-ceiling windows. Gabriel doesn't move, doesn't eat, doesn't do anything but sit and relive every moment of the past 3 weeks, cataloging every lie, every manipulation, every carefully crafted moment designed to make him fall in love with a ghost. "I want to try. With you. I want to try. Promise me you won't run at the first sign of real intimacy. Move in with me. Yes, I'll build a life with you." Every memory is poisoned now, tainted with the knowledge of what she really was, what she was really doing. Gabriel wonders if she ever felt anything real for him, or if she's just that good an actress. He wonders if she and Isabel are laughing about him right now, celebrating the success of their operation. He wonders if he'll ever feel anything again besides this hollow, aching emptiness where his heart used to be. As darkness falls over the city, Gabriel realizes that Rachel was wrong about one thing. She didn't save him. She finished the job Isabel started, destroying the last part of him that was capable of hope, of trust, of love. And this time, there won't be a resurrection. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely was not who they seemed to be? How do you recover when betrayal cuts so deep it makes you question everything you thought you knew about love? Share your thoughts on surviving deception in the comments. Gabriel sits in his darkened penthouse, surrounded by the wreckage of his dreams, and knows with crystalline certainty that he will never let another human being close enough to destroy him again. Some lessons, he thinks, are only learned once. And some hearts, once broken beyond repair, can never be made whole again. 3 days pass like a slow-motion nightmare. Gabriel doesn't leave his penthouse. He doesn't answer his phone. He doesn't respond to Marcus's increasingly frantic emails or the concerned messages from his building's concierge. The world outside his windows continues its relentless march forward. People going to work, meeting friends, falling in love, building lives, while Gabriel exists in a bubble of absolute stillness. He's not eating. Food tastes like ash in his mouth, and his stomach rejects anything he tries to force down. Sleep comes in fitful bursts, filled with dreams of dark hair and green eyes and the sound of Rachel's laughter echoing through his empty rooms. The worst part isn't the betrayal itself, though that cuts deep enough to steal his breath. The worst part is how perfectly she'd understood him. Every word she'd spoken, every gesture she'd made, every moment of seeming vulnerability had been calculated to appeal to his specific damage, his particular needs. She'd studied him like a lab specimen, catalogued his weaknesses, and exploited them with surgical precision. Gabriel sits in his living room, staring at Victoria, and tries to remember what it felt like before Rachel. Before he'd allowed himself to hope again. The memories feel distant, like looking at someone else's life through frosted glass. "You tried to warn me, didn't you?" he says to Victoria, his voice rusty from disuse. "You knew I wasn't ready. You knew I was too broken to tell the difference between love and manipulation." Victoria's glassy eyes reflect the city lights, offering no comfort, no judgment, no response at all. She's exactly what she's always been, beautiful, silent, and utterly empty. Just like him. On the 4th day, Marcus shows up at his door. Gabriel hears him arguing with building security, his voice carrying through the thick oak. I don't care what his instructions were. I've worked for Gabriel Thorne for 8 years, and I'm not leaving until I know he's alive. Gabriel considers not answering. Considers letting Marcus worry, letting him call the police, letting the whole world assume he's finally given up completely. It would be easier than explaining, than facing the pity and the questions and the inevitable "I told you so's." But Marcus is persistent, and Gabriel's neighbors will start complaining about the noise eventually. "Go away, Marcus," Gabriel calls through the door. "Gabriel, thank God. Open the door." "I said go away. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stand out here all night if I have to." Gabriel knows his assistant well enough to know he means it. Marcus has been the closest thing to a friend Gabriel has had for years, managing not just his business affairs but his personal life, his isolation, his carefully constructed barriers against the world. The thought of explaining what happened, of seeing the disappointment in Marcus's eyes when he realizes how completely Gabriel was fooled, makes him want to retreat to his bedroom and never come out. But the pounding on his door is giving him a headache, and he's too tired to fight anymore. Gabriel opens the door to find Marcus looking haggard, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. His assistant takes one look at Gabriel's face and pushes past him into the penthouse. "Jesus Christ, Gabriel. You look like hell." Gabriel catches a glimpse of himself in the hallway mirror. Stubble, hollow eyes, rumpled clothes he's been wearing for days. He looks like exactly what he is, a man who's given up on everything, including basic hygiene. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to know that you're not going to do anything stupid." Marcus's voice is sharp with worry. "I want to know that you're eating, sleeping, taking care of yourself." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're the opposite of fine." Marcus looks around the penthouse, taking in the coffee stains still on the marble floor, the unopened mail scattered across the counter, the general air of abandonment. "When was the last time you ate something?" Gabriel tries to remember and can't. Time has become fluid, meaningless. Day bleeds into night without structure or purpose. I don't know, he admits. Marcus disappears into the kitchen, returning with a glass of water and what looks like a protein bar from Gabriel's emergency stash. Eat, he commands. Gabriel takes the bar but doesn't open it. The thought of food makes his stomach turn. Gabriel. Marcus's voice is gentler now, concerned. Talk to me. Tell me what happened after you found out about her. Nothing happened. She left. End of story. That's not what your building security told me. They said you had to have her forcibly removed, that you were shouting. I don't want to talk about it. Gabriel's voice is flat, emotionless. He's discovered that feeling nothing is preferable to feeling everything. Numbness is a mercy. Marcus studies him for a long moment, then moves to the window, looking out at the city lights. I'm sorry, he says quietly. I'm sorry I didn't catch it sooner. I'm sorry the background check took so long. I'm sorry you had to go through this again. It's not your fault. Gabriel means it. Marcus has been protecting him for years, managing his isolation, screening his contacts, trying to keep the sharks at bay. I'm the one who let her in. I'm the one who ignored every warning sign because I was so desperate to believe. He stops, unable to finish the sentence. Desperate to believe what? That someone could actually love me. The words come out barely above a whisper. That I wasn't completely unlovable. Marcus turns from the window, his expression pained. Gabriel, you're not. Yes, I am. Gabriel's voice is matter-of-fact, resigned. Twice, Marcus. Twice I've fallen for women who were using me. What does that say about me? What kind of man attracts predators like that? It says you're trusting. It says you want to see the best in people. It says I'm a fool. Gabriel finally opens the protein bar but doesn't eat it, just stares at it in his hands. A rich, lonely fool who's so desperate for connection that he'll believe any lie if it's told prettily enough. That's not true. Isn't it? Gabriel looks up at Marcus, and his expression is so bleak that his assistant flinches. Rachel knew exactly what to say to me, exactly how to present herself. She studied me, Marcus. She knew about Victoria, about my isolation, about every vulnerability I've ever shown. And she used all of it against me. Marcus is quiet for a moment, then says carefully, the investigation isn't over, Gabriel. There are still some inconsistencies in what we've found. What kind of inconsistencies? The timeline doesn't quite add up. The communications we tracked between Rachel and the encrypted account, they stopped weeks before she showed up at your door. And there's something else. Marcus hesitates. The investigator thinks there might be more to the story. He wants to dig deeper. Gabriel shakes his head. I don't want to know more. I know enough. But what if? What if what? What if she really loved me? What if this was all some elaborate misunderstanding? Gabriel's voice rises, the first real emotion he's shown in days. It doesn't matter, Marcus. Even if she did have feelings for me, even if she regrets what she did, it doesn't change the fundamental facts. She lied to me. She manipulated me. She made me believe in something that wasn't real. Gabriel. I'm done. Gabriel stands abruptly, pacing to the window. I'm done with hope, done with trust, done with believing that there's someone out there who could love me for who I am instead of what I have. I'm done with all of it. Marcus watches him pace, his expression troubled. So what are you going to do? Spend the rest of your life hiding in this penthouse, talking to a mannequin? Yes. Gabriel's voice is flat, certain. That's exactly what I'm going to do. That's not living, Gabriel. That's just existing. Existing is enough. Gabriel turns back to Marcus, his expression hard. Existing is safe. Existing doesn't require me to trust anyone or believe in anything or hope for things that will never happen. Your parents didn't raise you to be a coward. The words hit Gabriel like a slap. He spins around, fury blazing in his eyes for the first time in days. Don't you dare bring my parents into this. Don't you dare use them to guilt me into. Into what? Into living? Into honoring their memory by becoming the man they wanted you to be. Marcus's voice is rising now too, years of frustrated worry finally boiling over. They would be ashamed of what you've become, Gabriel. Ashamed of how you've let fear turn you into a ghost. Gabriel's hands clench into fists. Get out. No. Get out of my house, Marcus. Get out and don't come back. I'm not leaving. Not until you remember who you used to be. Who I used to be is dead. Gabriel's voice cracks, revealing the raw pain underneath the anger. That man died with Isabel's betrayal, and Rachel just finished burying him. There's nothing left of who I used to be. You're wrong. Marcus's voice is quieter now, but no less intense. You're hurt, you're angry, you're scared. But you're not dead. The man who built $1 billion company from nothing, who survived losing his parents, who had the courage to love again after Isabel, that man is still in there. Gabriel shakes his head, the fight going out of him as quickly as it came. I can't do it again, Marcus. I can't risk my heart on another person. I don't have the strength. Then don't. Marcus's response surprises him. Don't risk your heart on another person. Risk it on yourself. What does that mean? It means stop letting other people's choices define who you are. Isabel was a predator. That says something about her, not about you. If Rachel was working with her, if this whole thing was orchestrated, that says something about them, not about you. Gabriel wants to argue, wants to point out all the ways he's complicit in his own destruction, all the signs he missed, all the reasons he deserves what happened to him. But Marcus's words hit something deep inside him, some buried spark of the man he used to be. I don't know how, Gabriel admits. Start small. Take a shower. Eat something. Answer your phone. Marcus moves closer, his voice gentle but firm. Stop punishing yourself for other people's sins. Gabriel looks around his penthouse, at the coffee stains on the floor, at Victoria sitting silent and forgotten, at the evidence of his complete surrender to despair. When did he become this person? When did he decide that being a victim was easier than being a survivor? I trusted her, he says quietly. I trusted her completely. I know. I told her things I've never told anyone. About my parents, about my fears, about the poetry I used to write. Gabriel's voice breaks slightly. I gave her everything. I know. And she used it all against me. Maybe. Marcus's voice is careful. Or maybe she used some of it against you and meant the rest. Maybe the truth is more complicated than either betrayal or love. Gabriel stares at his assistant, seeing something in Marcus's expression that makes him pause. What aren't you telling me? Marcus hesitates, then pulls out his phone. The investigator sent this an hour ago. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see it. Gabriel takes the phone, scrolling through what appears to be a series of text messages. As he reads, his expression changes from resignation to confusion to something that might be hope. The messages are from Rachel to an unknown number, dated 3 days ago, the day she left his penthouse. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. You don't get to be done. You have a job to finish. I finished it. I got close to him. I got the information you wanted. But I'm not going to destroy him. That wasn't the deal. The deal has changed. I love him. Don't be ridiculous. You barely know him. I know enough. I know he's nothing like you said he was. I know he's been hurt enough. I know I'd rather die than hurt him any more than I already have. If you back out now, you'll lose everything. I'll make sure of it. I've already lost everything. The moment I saw his face when he found out who I was, I lost everything that mattered. Gabriel stares at the messages, reading them over and over. The number Rachel was texting isn't identified, but the tone, the content, the manipulation, it's familiar in a way that makes his blood run cold. Marcus, he says slowly. This other number. Do we know who it belongs to? Marcus nods grimly. That's what took so long to trace. It's registered to a shell company, but we finally tracked it down. And it's Isabel. Gabriel's legs give out. He sinks onto the sofa, the phone falling from nerveless fingers. Everything he thought he knew about the past 3 weeks shifts and realigns, revealing a truth he's not sure he's ready to face. Isabel orchestrated all of this, he whispers. It looks that way. But Gabriel. Marcus sits beside him, his voice gentle. Look at the last message. Gabriel picks up the phone again, scrolling to the final text in the chain. I'm going to tell him the truth. All of it. He deserves to know. You do that, and I'll destroy you both. Then destroy me. I don't care anymore. I love him, and I'm going to fight for him. The timestamp shows the message was sent yesterday. 24 hours ago, while Gabriel was sitting in his penthouse convinced that Rachel had never cared about him at all, she was defying Isabel to protect him. She was going to tell me, Gabriel says, his voice barely audible. She was going to tell you, Marcus confirms. Which means maybe her feelings were real, even if her initial motives weren't. Gabriel stares at the messages, feeling something crack open in his chest. Not hope, he's not ready for hope yet. But something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or the first faint stirring of the man he used to be. The man who fought for what he wanted instead of retreating at the first sign of trouble. Where is she now? He asks. We don't know. She checked out of the hotel she was staying at, and she's not at her apartment. She seems to have disappeared. Gabriel stands, pacing to the window. Somewhere out there, Rachel is hiding, probably scared, probably convinced that he hates her. And somewhere else, Isabel is pulling strings, orchestrating pain, destroying lives for reasons Gabriel still doesn't fully understand. For the first time in days, Gabriel feels something other than numbness. It's not happiness. He's not sure he'll ever feel that again. But it's something. Anger, maybe. Or determination. I need to find her, he says quietly. Gabriel. I need to find her, Marcus. I need to hear the truth from her own lips. I need to understand what really happened. Marcus nods, relief evident in his expression. I'll make some calls. And Marcus. Yes. Find out everything you can about what Isabel has been doing for the past 3 years. If she's been planning this, if she's been watching me, waiting for the right moment to strike. Gabriel's voice hardens. I want to know why. I want to know what she really wants. Already working on it. Gabriel looks at his reflection in the window, seeing a man who's been broken but isn't defeated. Not yet. Maybe Rachel's betrayal wasn't complete. Maybe there's more to the story than he knows. Maybe it's time to stop being a victim and start being a survivor. One more thing, Gabriel says, turning back to Marcus. What? Cancel all my appointments for the next week. I have a feeling I'm going to be busy. Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and fighting for someone you love, even when you weren't sure they deserved it? What does it take to find the courage to stop running from pain and start running toward the truth? Let us know in the comments. For the first time in days, Gabriel feels something stirring in his chest. Not hope, not yet. But the possibility of hope. The chance that the story isn't over, that there might be more chapters to write. If he's brave enough to pick up the pen. It takes Marcus 18 hours to find her. Rachel is staying in a small motel 40 miles outside the city, registered under a fake name but traceable through her credit card. When Marcus texts Gabriel the address, he's already in his car, driving through the night toward what might be another devastating confrontation or the beginning of something he's not brave enough to name yet. The Sunset Motel looks exactly like the kind of place people go to disappear. Neon signs flicker against the darkness, casting pink and blue shadows across cracked pavement. Gabriel parks outside room 247 and sits in his car for a moment, gathering courage he's not sure he possesses. Through the thin curtains, he can see the glow of a television, the shadow of someone pacing back and forth. She's awake. She's probably been awake for days, just like him. Gabriel gets out of the car and walks to her door, his heart pounding so hard he can hear it over the distant highway traffic. He raises his hand to knock, then freezes. What if Marcus is wrong? What if the text messages were just another layer of deception, another way to manipulate him? What if opening this door leads to more pain than he can survive? Before he can lose his nerve completely, the door opens. Rachel stands there in sweatpants and an oversized hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looks exhausted, her eyes red-rimmed and haunted. When she sees Gabriel, her face goes through a series of emotions so rapid he can barely track them. Shock, fear, hope, resignation. Gabriel. His name comes out as barely a whisper. How did you? Can I come in? She steps back wordlessly, and Gabriel enters the small, shabby room. It smells like industrial disinfectant and old cigarettes, Nothing like the warm, lived-in scent that had filled his penthouse when she was there. Rachel closes the door behind him and leans against it, her hands pressed flat against the wood like she's trying to hold the world at bay. "I know why you're here," she says quietly. "You found out about the text messages." Gabriel nods. "I need to hear it from you. All of it. The truth this time." Rachel moves to the small table by the window, sinking into one of the plastic chairs. She looks fragile in the harsh motel lighting, smaller than he remembers, like she's been carved hollow by guilt and fear. "The truth," she repeats, laughing bitterly. "I'm not sure I know what that is anymore." "Start with Isabel." Rachel's whole body flinches at the name. "Isabel contacted me 6 months ago. I hadn't heard from her since college, since we had our falling out over." She looks up at Gabriel, her eyes filled with pain. "Over you, actually." Gabriel's eyebrows rise. "Me? She told me about you back then. About the rich man she was going to marry, how she was going to take everything from him. I was horrified, Gabriel. I tried to talk her out of it, tried to make her see that what she was planning was monstrous." Rachel's voice breaks slightly. "She cut me out of her life completely. Said I was too weak to understand what real survival looked like." Gabriel sits in the chair across from her, studying her face. "But she came back. She came back because she needed me. Because her first plan failed and she needed someone you'd never met, someone who could get close to you." Rachel wraps her arms around herself like she's cold. "She knew about my background, about David, about how desperate I was for connection. She played me just like she played you." "How?" "She told me you were dangerous. That you were a predator who preyed on vulnerable women, who used your money and power to control them and then discarded them when you were done." Rachel's voice is barely audible. "She said you destroyed several women's lives, that you needed to be stopped." Gabriel feels something cold settle in his stomach. "And you believed her?" "She had evidence, Gabriel. Photos, documents, testimonials from women who claimed you'd hurt them. She made it look completely real." Rachel looks up at him, her eyes desperate. "I thought I was protecting other women from you. I thought I was doing something good." "So you agreed to help her?" "I agreed to investigate you. To get close enough to find evidence of your crimes so she could expose you publicly." Rachel's hands are shaking now. "I never meant to hurt an innocent person. I thought I was stopping a monster." Gabriel processes this, feeling pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Isabel hadn't just wanted to destroy him. She'd wanted to recruit someone who would feel righteous about it, someone whose genuine moral outrage would make her performance more convincing. "When did you realize she was lying?" "The moment I met you." Rachel's voice breaks completely. "The moment I saw the pain in your eyes, the way you looked at Victoria, the way you talked about trust and betrayal. I knew immediately that you weren't a predator. You were a victim, just like me." Gabriel remembers that first night, the way Rachel had looked at him with such understanding, such compassion. It hadn't been an act, it had been recognition. "But you didn't tell me the truth." "I tried to leave," Rachel says desperately. "That first night, I called Isabel and told her I couldn't go through with it. That you were nothing like she described, that I was backing out." "What did she say?" "She said she'd destroy me if I didn't finish the job. She had recordings of our conversations, proof that I'd agreed to help her. She said she'd make it look like I was a con artist, that she'd ruin my career, my reputation, everything." Rachel's tears are falling freely now. "I was trapped, Gabriel. I was so scared and so confused and I didn't know what to do." Gabriel wants to comfort her, but he's not ready yet. There are still too many questions, too much pain between them. "So you stayed. You got closer to me." "I told myself I would just go through the motions. Get whatever information Isabel wanted and then disappear from your life as quickly as possible." Rachel looks at him with eyes full of anguish. "But Gabriel, I fell in love with you. Completely, desperately, helplessly in love with you." "When?" The question seems to surprise her. "When you showed me your parents' photograph and your voice broke talking about them. When you let me hold your hand like it was the most precious gift in the world. When you looked at me like I was something miraculous instead of something broken." She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. "I fell in love with your kindness, your vulnerability, your capacity for hope despite everything you'd been through. Gabriel's chest tightens. But you still didn't tell me the truth. I was going to. After you asked me to move in, after we said we loved each other, I knew I had to tell you everything. But I was terrified, Gabriel. I was terrified you'd hate me, that you'd never forgive me, that I'd lose the only real thing I'd ever had in my life. So instead you let me find out from Marcus. Rachel nods miserably. I kept putting it off, telling myself I'd tell you tomorrow, next week, when the time was right. And then it was too late. Gabriel stands, pacing to the small window. Outside, trucks rumble past on the highway, carrying people toward destinations he can't imagine. Normal people living normal lives, unburdened by the weight of betrayal and deception. The text messages Marcus found, he says without turning around. You defied Isabel. Yes. Why? Because I'd rather lose everything than hurt you any more than I already had. Because I love you more than I fear her. Rachel's voice is stronger now, more certain. Because you deserve to know the truth, even if it meant losing you forever. Gabriel turns back to face her. What did she want from me? What was the ultimate goal? Rachel hesitates, then reaches into her purse and pulls out a thick folder. She wanted me to get you to sign these. Investment documents, business agreements, legal papers that would have given her access to your company's assets. Gabriel takes the folder, flipping through documents that would have effectively signed over control of everything he's built. The scope of Isabel's ambition is breathtaking. She hadn't just wanted to hurt him, she'd wanted to own him completely. She was going to have you manipulate me into signing these? She said once I had gained your complete trust, I should tell you about a business opportunity. Something that would help people, that would make you feel good about yourself. Rachel's voice is hollow. She knew exactly how to appeal to your desire to do something meaningful with your wealth. Gabriel stares at the papers, feeling a cold rage building in his chest. Not just at Isabel, but at himself for being so predictable, so easy to manipulate. How much was she paying you? Nothing. Rachel's answer surprises him. She wasn't paying me anything, Gabriel. She was blackmailing me. With what? Rachel looks away, shame coloring her cheeks. She knew about my suicide attempt. She had hospital records, therapy notes, evidence of how unstable I'd been after David. She threatened to release all of it publicly, to make sure I could never work as a counselor again. Gabriel feels something crack open in his chest. Rachel hadn't been motivated by greed. She'd been motivated by fear, by the threat of losing everything she'd built from the ashes of her own betrayal. She's been planning this for 3 years, Gabriel says, understanding finally dawning. This wasn't just about the money. This was about revenge. What do you mean? Gabriel sits back down, leaning forward intently. I destroyed her original plan when I discovered her betrayal. I cost her millions of dollars and years of work. She's been watching me ever since, waiting for the right moment to finish what she started. Gabriel. She's here, isn't she? Somewhere nearby, waiting to see if her plan worked. Rachel's eyes widen. How did you know? Because I know Isabel. She wouldn't trust something this important to someone else. She'd want to be close enough to control every variable. Gabriel pulls out his phone, dialing Marcus. Marcus, I need you to trace all the hotels within 50 miles of my location. Look for Isabel Morrison or any of her known aliases. As Gabriel talks to Marcus, Rachel watches him with something like awe. This isn't the broken man she left in the penthouse 4 days ago. This is someone else, someone stronger, more determined, more dangerous. Found her, Gabriel says, hanging up the phone. The Grandview Hotel, 20 minutes from here. Checked in this morning under the name Victoria Black. Rachel's face goes pale. Gabriel, what are you going to do? Gabriel stands, his expression harder than she's ever seen it. I'm going to end this. Once and for all. I'm coming with you. No. Gabriel's voice is firm. This is between me and Isabel. She's been manipulating both of us, Gabriel. This is my fight too. Gabriel looks at Rachel, really looks at her. She's scared, exhausted, probably expecting him to walk away and never speak to her again. But there's something else in her expression, something that reminds him of the woman who showed up at his door weeks ago and demanded to be let in. Courage. Despite everything, despite the fear and guilt and pain, she's still brave enough to fight. "All right," Gabriel says finally. "But we do this together. No more secrets, no more lies. Whatever happens, we face it together." Rachel nods, tears streaming down her face. Together. The Grandview Hotel is everything the Sunset Motel isn't: elegant, expensive, the kind of place Isabel has always preferred. Gabriel and Rachel take the elevator to the 10th floor in silence, both of them preparing for a confrontation that will determine the rest of their lives. Room 1047. Gabriel knocks, his other hand holding Rachel's tightly. "Room service," he calls out. The door opens, and Isabel stands there in a silk robe, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the late hour. She's as beautiful as ever, but Gabriel sees her differently now, sees the calculation behind her smile, the coldness in her eyes. "Gabriel," she says, not seeming surprised at all. "And Rachel." How delightfully dramatic. Gabriel pushes past her into the suite, Rachel close behind him. Isabel closes the door and turns to face them, completely unruffled by their unexpected arrival. "I suppose you figured it all out," she says, moving to pour herself a glass of wine. "How clever of you." "Why?" Gabriel asks simply. "Why what? Why did I want to destroy you? Why did I recruit poor, damaged Rachel to help me? Why did I spend 3 years planning the perfect revenge?" Isabel takes a sip of wine, studying them both with amused detachment. "Because you humiliated me, Gabriel. You cost me everything I'd worked for, and then you disappeared into your little tower like a wounded prince. You were stealing from me. You were going to destroy my company." "I was going to improve it," Isabel corrects. "You were wasting your potential, your resources, your influence. I could have made you truly powerful. By lying to me. By betraying me. By doing what was necessary." Isabel sets down her wine glass, her mask of civility beginning to slip. "You were so naive, Gabriel. So trusting, so desperate to be loved. It would have been easy to guide you, to help you make better decisions. You mean to control me. I mean to save you from yourself." Isabel's voice rises slightly. "Do you know what you could have accomplished with someone like me by your side? Do you know what we could have built together?" Gabriel stares at her, finally understanding. "You actually believe that? You actually think you were doing me a favor?" "I was doing you a favor. Just like I was doing Rachel a favor by giving her a chance at a real life instead of her pathetic existence as a trauma counselor." Rachel steps forward, her voice shaking with anger. "You told me he was a predator. You showed me fake evidence, made me believe I was protecting other women." "I showed you what you needed to see to get the job done," Isabel interrupts. "You were so righteously angry about your own betrayal, so eager to save other women from the same fate. It was almost too easy." Gabriel feels Rachel's hand tremble in his, but she doesn't back down. "You're sick," she says quietly. "You're a predator yourself, and you can't stand that Gabriel is everything you're not: kind, genuine, capable of real love." Isabel laughs, but there's something brittle in the sound. "Love? Is that what you think this is? Rachel, darling, you were a job. A means to an end. Whatever you think you feel for Gabriel, whatever you think he feels for you, it's all built on lies." "No," Rachel says firmly. "It's not." "Really? Gabriel, tell her. Tell her how you felt when you found out who she really was. Tell her about the rage, the betrayal, the absolute certainty that she was just another woman trying to use you." Gabriel looks at Rachel, seeing the fear in her eyes, the way she's bracing herself for him to confirm Isabel's words. "You're right," Gabriel says, and Rachel's face crumbles. "I did feel all of those things. I felt rage and betrayal and absolute certainty that I'd been played again." Isabel smiles triumphantly. "You see? There's no coming back from that kind of betrayal. No matter what pretty words you say to each other now, he'll never trust you completely. You'll never be sure if he truly forgives you. Your relationship is poisoned at its foundation." Gabriel steps closer to Isabel, his voice deadly quiet. "But here's what you don't understand, Isabel. Here's what you've never understood about love." "What's that?" "It's not about perfection. It's not about finding someone who will never hurt you or disappoint you or make mistakes. Gabriel looks at Rachel, his expression soft despite the hardness in his voice. It's about choosing someone whose heart is worth fighting for, even when they've broken yours. He turns back to Isabel, and now his voice is steel. Rachel made a mistake. She let fear and manipulation cloud her judgment. But when it mattered most, when she had to choose between her safety and my well-being, she chose me. She chose love. How touching, Isabel says sarcastically. You, on the other hand, chose selfishness. You chose control over connection, manipulation over honesty, revenge over healing. Gabriel moves closer, towering over her. You've spent 3 years trying to destroy me, and all you've accomplished is showing me what real love looks like. Isabel's composure finally cracks. You're making a mistake, Gabriel. She'll hurt you again. They always do. Maybe, Gabriel agrees. But I'd rather risk being hurt by someone who loves me than be safe with someone who only loves what I can give them. Gabriel pulls out his phone, dialing a number Isabel recognizes. Marcus? Yes, we found her. I need you to contact the FBI. I'm sending you photos of documents that prove wire fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. Gabriel snaps pictures of the papers Rachel had brought. And Marcus? Make sure they know she's a flight risk. You can't prove anything, Isabel says, but her voice lacks conviction. I can prove you created false evidence to manipulate Rachel. I can prove you used her to gain access to my personal information. I can prove you attempted to defraud me of millions of dollars. Gabriel's smile is cold. I can prove that you've been systematically destroying lives for years, and I'm going to make sure you pay for all of it. Sirens sound in the distance, growing closer. Isabel looks around the room like a trapped animal, her perfect composure finally shattered completely. This isn't over, she says desperately. Yes, it is, Gabriel replies firmly. It's been over for 3 years. You just didn't know it yet. 2 hours later, Gabriel and Rachel sit in his car outside the hotel, watching as Isabel is led away in handcuffs. The sight should be satisfying, but Gabriel feels only exhaustion and a deep, abiding relief. What happens now? Rachel asks quietly. Gabriel considers the question. What does happen now? They've been through fire together, faced their worst fears, confronted the woman who tried to destroy them both. But that doesn't erase the past, doesn't magically heal all the wounds they've inflicted on each other. I don't know, Gabriel says honestly. I know I love you. I know you love me. I know we're both damaged and scared and probably going to make more mistakes. But I also know I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been if we'd been brave enough to try. Gabriel turns to face her fully. I know I'd rather fight for something real and imperfect than settle for something safe and empty. Rachel's eyes fill with tears. I hurt you so badly, Gabriel. I lied to you, I betrayed your trust. You were being manipulated by someone who's an expert at manipulation. You were scared and alone and trying to do what you thought was right. Gabriel reaches out to cup her face gently. Yes, you hurt me. But you also loved me, protected me, chose me when it mattered most. Can you forgive me? Gabriel considers this seriously. Can he forgive her? Can he trust her again? Can they build something real from the ashes of deception and betrayal? I think, he says slowly, forgiveness isn't something that happens all at once. I think it's something we choose every day, until one day we realize we're not choosing it anymore because we don't need to. Rachel nods, understanding. And trust. Trust is something we build together. One day at a time, one truth at a time, one choice at a time. Gabriel leans his forehead against hers. It won't be easy. We'll both have moments of doubt, moments when the past tries to poison the present. But if we're both willing to fight for this, if we're both committed to choosing love over fear, then maybe we can make it work, Rachel finishes. Maybe we can make it work. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment, both of them processing everything that's happened, everything they've survived, everything they're choosing to risk. Gabriel, Rachel says finally. Yes. Thank you for coming to find me. Thank you for giving me a chance to explain, to fight for us. Thank you for being worth fighting for. Gabriel starts the car, and they drive through the night toward the city, toward his penthouse, toward a future that's uncertain but no longer empty. They have work to do, rebuilding trust, healing wounds, learning how to love each other without fear. But they're going to do it together. 3 months later, Gabriel wakes up to the sound of laughter drifting from his kitchen. The sound makes him smile before he's even fully conscious, a conditioned response to joy that he never wants to lose again. He finds Rachel at the stove, making pancakes and talking on the phone with Jenny. She's wearing one of his shirts and her pajama shorts, her hair pulled up in that messy bun he's grown to love. When she sees him, her face lights up with pure happiness. "Good morning, my love," she says, ending her call and moving to kiss him softly. "Good morning," Gabriel murmurs against her lips, still amazed by the casual intimacy of it, the way she touches him like he belongs to her and she belongs to him. Victoria is gone now, donated to a design school where she can inspire young artists instead of serving as a monument to loneliness. In her place, Gabriel has filled his penthouse with signs of real life: Rachel's books, her photographs, the small imperfections that make a house a home. "Mrs. Chin called," Rachel says, flipping pancakes with practiced ease. "She wants to know if we're coming to the poetry reading tonight." Gabriel nods. He's been writing again, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. His poems are different now, not the naive romanticism of his youth, but something deeper, more complex. Poetry that acknowledges pain without being consumed by it, that celebrates love without ignoring its complications. "I have something for you," Gabriel says, pulling a small velvet box from his robe pocket. Rachel turns, her eyes widening when she sees the box. "Gabriel." "It's not what you think," he says quickly. "I mean, it is what you think, but not yet. Not until you're ready." Rachel takes the box with trembling hands, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring with a small diamond. It's beautiful, but not ostentatious, exactly what she would have chosen for herself. "It's a promise," Gabriel explains. "A promise that when you're ready, when we're both ready, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Building something real, something lasting, something worth fighting for." Rachel's tears are falling freely now, but she's smiling through them. "I'm ready," she says. "I've been ready since the moment you came to find me at that motel." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Rachel looks up at him, her eyes clear and certain. "I love you, Gabriel Thorne. I love your kindness and your strength and your capacity for forgiveness. I love the way you make me feel safe enough to be vulnerable and brave enough to be myself." Gabriel slips the ring onto her finger, his hand steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "I love you too, Raven Blackwell. I love your courage and your compassion and your absolute refusal to give up on us when giving up would have been easier." They hold each other in the golden morning light of his penthouse, surrounded by the life they've built together from the ashes of betrayal and fear. It's not perfect, they still have moments of doubt, still struggle with trust, still carry scars from their past. But it's real, and it's theirs, and it's worth every moment of pain it took to find it. "What happens now?" Rachel asks, echoing her question from that night outside the hotel. Gabriel looks around his home, their home, filled with love and laughter and the promise of all the tomorrows they'll face together. "Now," he says, "we live happily ever after." When you've been deeply hurt, what does it take to believe in love again? How do you know when someone is worth fighting for, even when the path forward isn't clear? We'd love to hear about your own journeys from heartbreak to healing in the comments below. As they dance slowly in their kitchen to music only they can hear, Gabriel realizes that Victoria was wrong about one thing. She'd been beautiful, perfect, and completely safe, but she'd also been completely empty. Real love isn't safe. It's risky and complicated and sometimes heartbreaking. But it's also the most beautiful thing in the world. And Gabriel Thorne, once the rejected millionaire who married a mannequin, has finally learned the difference.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.